I'm Stephanie Arell. I'm welcoming you back to the YouTube station. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care. So first, I think that term has become overused and less meaningful than how I'm going to present it here. And I'm not crazy about projecting a judgment the way that I just did. I think it gives us pause to think about what we really mean when we say self-care. I do not mean any kind of behavior that feeds into messages that we receive about how we should be in the world. So I'll start with that. But I need to back up because I think it's important for us to understand two central terms in our psychological being that relate to self-care, at least tangentially. So bear with me as I walk you through this, and then I'll return to self-care. The two terms are relax and calm. So what does it mean when we say we need to relax? Generally, envision that term as you needing to escape from your life or the world, or completely shut off from any external stimuli that provokes any kind of anxiety, right? So this is on the beach with a Mai Tai, your phone is off, or alternatively, you're chatting away with friends and not paying attention to any responsibilities. Maybe it's in a sauna with other friends. Maybe you've even had a glass of wine, although you shouldn't do that when you get into the sauna, but you're just completely unplugged from your life. Maybe that's watching Netflix or streaming television. All of those things, when we employ them to just relax for a minute and turn off our brains, have some sort of function. I do think we can think about those activities and measure them in terms of what they mean for our best functioning afterwards, right? So maybe you're watching Netflix because you're depressed and the Netflix just feeds into that depression. Then I would say that's not really a method to relax. It's more a way of dissociating. So it's a question not of the thing that you're doing, but a question for how it restores you or leaves you at the end, right? So there are some people where having a Mai Tai on the beach isn't the best choice for them because it's not going to leave them where they want to be afterwards. So we have two things with this concept of relax. We have the idea of escaping or unplugging from our responsibilities as a way to calm our nervous system. And we can measure that choice by taking a look at how we are after. Did we get restored? Was unplugging actually beneficial to our ability to perform or act after we're finished with that experience? So that gets into the idea of calm. So being calm, I could define it in a lot of psychological ways and actually give you charts to show what I mean by this, but let me try to do it just with some words. So being calm constitutes our ability to react to stimuli and under stress the most lucidly, smoothly, and without having our own systems stimulated in a way that's stressful. Right? So being calm essentially is this state that we want to be in to perform at our highest. If you go take an exam, you want to have this sense of calm. You don't want to be relaxed. You don't want to be unplugged, but you want to be able to center yourself and access all of the material that you've learned, right? You want to be able to access your ability to think critically and the best that you can. So if you have a job, for instance, you want to be able to perform when somebody asks you for something, or you want to be able to respond to somebody in a way that's reasonable and not hyper aroused or irritated. That's how you think about the word calm. Now, when I refer back to self-care, what I want people to envision is that these practices are things that help us either relax so that we can return to performing our job, school, participating in family life, dealing with our kids, so we can do those things to our highest ability. If we're looking at that in terms of being calm, we want the self-care methods that we select to facilitate our ability to be calm in high stress situations. So what kind of practices constitute self-care in this framework that I'm setting it? One practice that sort of bothers me is the idea of women specifically doing pedicures and manicures. So is that self-care? I think it depends on how you measure self-care and how you measure the act of getting a manicure and pedicure. It's expensive for some people. It feeds into a particular notion of what we deserve or what we should be doing with our bodies. It also is still feeding into a beauty myth that we have running in media, for instance, in our culture. I don't think that it's a negative thing. I just think it's important to ask questions of the things you choose to do that you call self-care, so that they're really self-care exercises. So having my nails be clean or look pretty helps me feel like I can participate more fully in any environment I'm in. Frequently though, I don't do my nails, and I hardly ever do my toes, which if I ever do get pedicures, people remind me that that's an important practice. Maybe in the summer I do. Anyway, at the root, what I'm saying is to just examine the practices, why you do them, what they do for you, and how do they lead to relaxing or calming yourself, or whichever one you need at any given moment, right? I'll give you some examples of my own choice of self-care and explain why and how I think about these as a little bit of a practice exercise for you. I love to work out. I do CrossFit, Pilates, and I dance. Sometimes that is a more of a coping mechanism so that I can deal with my life. So I don't know how much of a self-care exercise it is in terms of leading to me being calm. Oftentimes it's the way that I unplug, because when I go in and do a workout, I'm not paying attention to anything else unless I need to be, and then it's not the same kind of workout, right? Then I'm not actually relaxing. It's not fulfilling that need. So the self-care aspect of working out for me is the idea of not having to respond to anything during the time that I'm working out. And if I have to respond or I have my phone near me, then I'm not actually participating in a self-care exercise for me. Another thing that I do is eat really healthily. And it's a choice that I make because it helps me feel the best physically. And that I would lead more to being calm, because when I feel the best, have the most energy, I'm capable of responding to stress better. I would also say working out feeds into that too for me. Some other self-care things that I do that aren't as obvious. I really pay attention to where I sit in my house. So depending on my energy level, depending on what I feel like I need in terms of self-soothing or self-nurturing, which I guess is another term we could think of that's synonymous with self-care, I'll sit in different places. So sometimes I'll sit in my bed, and that gives me some information about what I need for the day, and that I might be a little bit oversensitive that given day. If I sit in this chair, I know that I'm actually ready to work. Maybe not as intensely as if I sat at my desk, but it keeps me a little bit poised. I type fast in this chair, so if I'm writing something, this is a good place that transitions me into full work mode, which would be at my desk. So I'm very intentional about where I sit, how I think about my life. Maybe it's a little bit extreme. I know there are some people in my life that wish I would think a little less about things, but I enjoy doing that because it is another thing that actually makes me feel calm. That brings in one other aspect of thinking about this dynamic, calm and relaxed, because sometimes the things that we choose to do are actually old coping mechanisms from the past. So this is a lot to throw at you, but to think about what is a coping mechanism that's continuing to help us grow, relax, or be calm when we need to be, and what is actually holding us back from growing. So maybe such control is actually a little bit of an impediment for me. I don't know, I'd have to think about it a little deeper. But the idea is to also examine what are things that are just coping mechanisms that you might not need to do anymore, or that are reminiscent of a past need that it actually doesn't exist, but that you've just gotten the habit of doing it. That's a good point of reflection, to think about anything that you do that you think might be helpful, because maybe at some point it's not anymore. It's a difficult question to ask, but I think a worthy one in terms of self-examination and self-care. Thanks.